bless.
That begs a question, because something in our DNA why we dislike, or we've been programmed to dislike each other. We don't like to live beside each other. We go out to the PG and we leave DC, and now the folks are coming back into DC, and we can't get back into the city. What's going on here?
Oh, because we dislike each other because we know each other. Because they look at each other and say, "You don't hold or control anything. You don't have any wealth and power and clout. You can't do anything for me. Nor can you do anything against me. So why should I respect, appreciate, and want to be associated with you?" It's a very simple answer to that one. Because see, all the money, the wealth, and power and privileges are associated with those who basically have white skin, and so naturally, it's natural for blacks to gravitate to that. That's a normal phenomenon. You know, they got all the power and the wealth, the power and the control, the privileges, positions, and all levels of government and the media. You gravitate to where it is. And people.
Interrupt me for a second, Doc. But does that same dynamic play out in other ethnic other ethnicities as well?
Yeah, to a large degree, because but they got a difference. They got an advantage on you. First of all, their advantage is they're classified as whites in the country. See, the only two colored issues you got in this country is black and white. All these other people are classified as whites. And the Hispanics were always classified as whites. Arabs and Asians have mixed together in about the last 20 years, but they're not classified as Asians, so they're classified as whites, and some of the Asians just on probation to be white. American Indians, all the way back to the 1700s, were identified by Benjamin Franklin and Thomas Jefferson and James Madison, saying that the American Indians they're the cousin of white folks. That's why we can accept them. We'll brag about how much Indian blood we got in them. We don't mind affiliating with them. They're just savages. We can educate them and get along with them. The issue has always been black and white. And people keep talking about people of color. There ain't no people of color. Whites got color. But they get deluded and think that somehow somebody wants to affiliate with them. Nobody's going to affiliate with you if you have no power, no resource, no privileges, no status, no culture, and no responsible behavior. And all these blacks that act up and do wild things, they're just supporting the demise of black folks.
Chapter 8, Becoming Politically and Economically Competitive in America. The God sees what is to come. Wise men see what is coming, and ordinary men see what has come. A new era is dawning, bringing dramatic changes across the world. Within the next 20 years, these changes will place Black people in the midst of one of the most important and turbulent periods in the history of mankind. There will be accelerated technological changes, unprecedented political upheaval, massive global population migration, and emerging national political economies. He did call it. These global changes will produce new anxieties and uncertainties. There will be a marked increase in ethnic and racial hostility as racial groups compete for power, wealth, and control of resources. Throughout mankind's history, competitive struggles between ethnic and racial groups have regulated their populations and established a relative ranking of power among them. In power struggles, the strongest survive and prosper. The weak or non-competitive groups disappear or live to serve the strong. Black America is approaching the threshold of the 21st century. We're here now as a non-competitive socioeconomic disaster. And we're here now as a non-competitive socioeconomic disaster. It is ill prepared to compete with other racial and ethnic groups. Contrary to popular belief, Blacks have made only relatively slight political and economic progress. Their quality of life has improved only because the general conditions of white society improved. The crucial question now concerns not civil rights, voting rights, affirmative action, or even equal opportunity. Instead, the question is whether or not Black Americans are ready to face the socioeconomic realities that confront them. Do Blacks understand what will happen to them if they do not pull themselves up by the year 2013? No, it's 2025, Doc, and we still don't get it. Do they understand that they are at risk of becoming a permanent underclass in America? Now we're starting to see it, but it's too late. Developing political and economic forces do not bode well for Blacks. Black America's frail state makes it vulnerable to international and domestic developments that could converge and do great injury to Blacks around the year 2013. Conditions for blacks will be made more serious by the hardening sentiments of the next white generation, which surveys predict will be more indifferent and harbor stronger anti-black attitudes. The merging of international superpower economies that will force blacks to compete with better prepared and united groups from around the globe. Higher unemployment and less public access resulting from downsizing and privatizing in government services. Sounds familiar, don't it? Continued deterioration of black families, churches, and other institutions. The loss of status of blacks from a majority minority to a minority, right? We are minorities now. Deteriorating social and economic conditions that would spur a general increase of criminal activity with the major portion associated with blacks. The continuing impact of a 350-year-old national public policy on the use of blacks that basically made blacks obsolete 3 decades ago. Now is the time for Black America to start developing strategies for becoming a more competitive group. The purpose of this book is twofold. Firstly, to identify the historical genesis of what wealth and power and black poverty and powerlessness. Secondly, based upon conclusions from historical analysis, to use white society as a model and recommend strategies that blacks can adopt in order to gain competitive wealth and power. In this chapter, various strategies for improving the quality of life for Black Americans are discussed, followed by analysis and recommendations. These strategies would demand from blacks a more focused and self-serving set of priorities and behavior patterns. They are absolutely necessary in order to give blacks real power. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Happy Monday. Welcome back to On the Shoulders of Giants. I am Joseph Ward, continuing my reading of Dr. Claude Anderson's amazing book, Black Labor, White Wealth, The Search for Power and Economic Justice. Chapter 8, Chapter 8, Becoming Politically and Economically Competitive in America. Dr. Anderson, we might as well call him Prophet Anderson. Dr. Anderson did his studies, and his studies showed us that the realities we're living now, he predicted, or he told us that were coming. He told us that we will have influx in immigrants. He told us that a lot of the jobs will be replaced by technology, and some of the jobs won't have access to. He told us that we'll be relegated to a minority instead of a majority minority. We're minority. He told us these things would come. We didn't listen. We didn't prepare. Now we're here. He said these things will happen by 2013. It is 2025. We are almost halfway through 2025, and we still are like deers in the headlight. We don't get it. We are still a non-competitive group in America. We are still behind. We still have not made any real tangible progress for ourselves to put ourselves in a better position to not be a forgotten class or a useless class of people in America. If as a majority minority, we got crumbs off the table, as a minority, we get crumbs from the crumbs. Is that okay? But individual success is more important than group success. Individual progress for us is more important than group progress. That's why we are a non-competitive group. We may have individuals who can compete in certain realms for a small or short amount of time, but as a whole, we have nothing competitive to offer to the world, to the race. It's like we're in the race, but we forfeited the race. But we're gonna talk junk about being in the race and talk junk about how bad we want to win the race. Well, we're forfeiting our place in the race because we're forfeiting the team. And we have to become a competitive group. Now, as I state that, I don't believe we will do that on a mass scale. So on a critical mass scale, we have to become as competitive as we can. Whether we like it or not, we're in a real life competition. We're either going to win or we're gonna lose. We either gonna come out on top or we're gonna fold. If we want to be relegated truly to a useless class of people, the other groups of people don't mind helping us get there. They don't mind stepping on this. That's what competition is. That's just what it is. But Dr. Anderson is saying this is the issues. These are the issues that we've been facing. And now let's look at strategies to help us change our situation, to help us change our position. So everybody who likes to come in the comments and say, you stated all the problems, but what are the solutions? Even though we constantly talk about solutions, here are some specific solutions and specific strategies. Excuse me. Specific strategies to help us become a more competitive group, to help us care more, to help us be better. Before I get into those strategies, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you like this video, comment, subscribe, share. Make sure as many people as possible are able to get access to this information. Listen to this information, digest it, and spread it on to other people. Share this video, comment, like, subscribe. You can even hit that super like button to support as well. And remember, if you don't hit that like button, it's because you don't support Dr. Anderson. You don't support the progress, real progress of Black people if you don't hit that like button. But hit that like button for me. And let's dive back into this. So this is page 175 where it says Strategy 1, Leadership. And remember, this is chapter 8, Becoming Politically and Economically Competitive in America. Humans, like all orders in life, seek leadership and find it naturally. But in America, white society has been the proactive institutional leader, and Black America has reactively followed with new leaders who arise in response to each new issue or event. The power and resource disparity between Blacks and whites has caused Blacks to have different standards for selecting, developing, and recognizing leadership. Beyond the fact that there are numerous differentiations of leadership, the most important factor in examining Black leadership is the understanding that power and leadership are relationships based upon socioeconomic motives and needs. Leaders are individuals who can induce others to cooperatively work towards certain goals that represent the values and motivations of both the leader and the followers. To fully understand the nature of leadership, to fully understand the nature of leadership requires understanding the essence of power, because leadership is a special form of power. The goal of forming new Black leadership is to acquire for Blacks in this lifetime economic justice, wealth, power, and equal employment of the rewards and benefits of the American dream. Okay, so here's an analysis, right? So we're talking about leadership is a specific type of power. Here's an analysis. In a competitive society, there are no mechanisms to give voice to unorganized and inarticulate groups. Mainstream society tends to oppose extra measures to include such groups. White society develops and conducts its substantive training on many fronts simultaneously within government, academia, the media, and corporate and other institutional structures. They manipulate and manage these entities so that they will reflect white society's wishes and attitudes about all major socioeconomic issues, especially race. Blacks have limited access to and control of established institutions. Black leadership too often does not spring forth from systems of leadership training, but rather results from a call into community service by a higher power to resolve a particular dilemma. It follows that the calling is answered usually from the ranks of the most independent sectors of Black communities, churches, small business operators, and community agencies. Most individuals from these organizations have served their communities without the benefit and broad competitive organizational resources behind them. True. True. So how they view leadership and how they go about leading is limited because of the limited view and the limited resources, and how they have always had to operate. It's been a specific way. But If these certain institutions are the only institutions that continuously crank out leaders, and then the leaders that are crunked out of these institutions don't provide anything tangible, why do you think we keep going back to that well? We keep pumping that well and getting nothing from that well, but we keep doing it. Guess it's comfortable. It's comfortable to keep doing it because we don't know anything else. And that's the only thing we trust. And while we still trust it, we have no idea. Lacking access to comprehensive data, talent banks, and well-trained organizational leadership, Black America has no formal way to assess past accomplishments and political leaders. It is difficult to distinguish between benevolent and self-serving leadership. Aspiring leaders, on the other hand, are sometimes forced to substitute rhetoric for research and emotionalism for planning. Those who are most charismatic and eloquent are elevated to leadership status, but to serve within their own communities, these leaders must remain constantly visible and involved with all levels of the Black community while being exposed to adversarial elements, negative press, conservative government policies, racial groups outside of the Black community, right? Number 3, many Blacks who are capable of leadership lack the tools of leadership, access to organizational power, media, and money. Blacks who accept the mantle of leadership often fail to significantly change the conditions of Black America because they are reactive rather than proactive, single issue or event oriented, and weak on long-term planning. After nearly 400 years, Blacks still have not developed a comprehensive national public policy or master plan, nor have they coordinated efforts between Black communities and organizations to move Black America towards self-sufficiency and empowerment. Right. The dream of Black-white integration caused many Blacks to abandon their interest in mainstream and maintaining a strong sense of community, or to know, trust, and be responsible for their neighbors' well-being. Many in the Black middle class have joined in the tail end of white flight to the suburbs and have failed to reconnect with their own communities, culture, and racial realities. Responding to the integration process, Black civil rights leaders have sought to accommodate and access institutionalized white power and wealth rather than seek to establish their own. What I keep talking about. Black communities tend to seek out one leader or messiah at a time. Most often, such an individual is the most visible person rather than the most able or committed. This lack of self-imposed standards for Black leadership makes it easy for white society to use its power to anoint leaders from within Black communities. Unwittingly or not, this method protects the interests of white society and allows it to manipulate which Black leaders will be publicly acknowledged, respected, or rewarded. Institutional powers are used to discredit or remove aggressive Blacks, often labeling them as radical or offensive. The world is rapidly changing, yet Black leadership seems frozen in time. Forces focused on alleviating the symptoms rather than the causes of racism impede meaningful change. Too many Black leaders continue to read from the political and economic scripts that are hopelessly short-sighted in addressing the myriad of fast-approaching domestic and international changes. While keeping their eyes on the integration prize, Black hopes, families, and communities are being destroyed by rampant social pathology. Blacks witness the state of decline in the quality of their lives and exhort the things that have got to get better. They borrow from the conservative white agenda and blame the problems on the symptoms and the victims rather than the systematic causes. Too many Black leaders have the heart and commitment, but lack the vision and power. Tomorrow's pluralistic and increasingly competitive society will demand Black leadership that will neither grow old nor be bought off or assassinated. The national public policy on the use of Blacks by design has kept Black leaders have kept Blacks leaderless and weak in their pursuit of power and wealth. The new Black leadership must be just as devoted to achieving self-sustaining Black communities within 10 years or less. Achieving this goal requires Black leaders with vision, not dreams. The mind's eye of the new Black leadership must be wide open. And so now he follows that up with recommendations for strategy 1. So here are his recommendations. One, unlike a dream, the mechanisms of self-empowerment will not materialize on their own accord. New organizational leadership must arise and become the force behind a collective national movement that will provide a unifying framework that all existing Black organizations can use to harness their political, formulate a promise to harness their political, formulate a common direction, and prevent them from working at cross purposes. A new kind of Black Leadership Institute is needed to buttress the current scarcity of Black individual and organizational leadership. Blacks must establish a think tank with an intellectual infrastructure that focuses exclusively on formulating national policy blueprints for solutions to the multitude of conditions crippling Black America. This institute should be an independent, nonpartisan, tax-exempt research foundation. It should provide proactive research to promote comprehensive prescriptive strategies for achieving Black political and economic self-empowerment. It should be distinguished from the other Black think tanks by the activism that should flow from its research and focus on those issues that are common to all Blacks, regardless of economic, social, or educational differences. A national public policy and plan should go hand in hand with the training of new Black leadership. All levels of Black America need to understand how they benefit as individuals and as a race in terms of wealth, wealth, power, peoplehood, and generational improvement in the quality of life. Without Black America's energetic participation, directed by new Black leadership, the national obsolescence and marginal existence of Blacks will continue.